What is up, everyone? My name is Adam with the Lavin Real Estate Group and Next Home Synergy. And I'm here today to talk a little bit about improvements on your home before you actually go to sell it. And the reason why is before you sell your home, if you call me, I always ask everybody the same question or kind of walk you through the same process. And I say, hey, that's great. Why don't we get together so that I can walk through your home and kind of tell you what you need to do to your home in order to get it on the market, and then what that'll do to the timing of getting your home on the market and how much we can then expect to get for it. Now that goes down one of two paths. Either the person that's about to sell their home says, great, that would be super helpful, or they start listing off all the things that they've done to their house and what they have versus their neighbor. And sometimes that can get us into a sketchy area because people think that they're going to get all the money back that they put in. And it's not always necessarily true. It goes by a case scenario depending on what the comparable homes that are in your market have. And then also what buyers' expectations are to the style of house that you have. So I want to talk about a couple things today that are common misconceptions where people think that they need to put them in their house or update them in order to, increase the value of your home. The first big one is flooring. Now, I know that sounds weird because, if you look at pictures and things like that, like you need nice flooring, so obviously you're going to get more money for your house if you have nice flooring, right? Well, it's not necessarily true. Where it's true almost 100% of the time is with carpeting. Now, what I mean by that is that if you have carpeting everywhere in your home, if it is not either unused or brand new, buyers are going to walk in and look at any worn carpet that has stains on it anywhere, or just kind of the traffic marks through, as not usable and needing to be replaced. So at that point, what they're going to do is essentially deduct that out of the price of your home. That being said, just because you have new carpet, that's the assumption more or less in a carpeted home. So what they're not going to do is increase the value of your home over the other homes in your neighborhood or in your zip code, or the style of your home over the the investment that you made into that carpet. So if you put $4,000 or $5,000 in carpet into your home, it's not going to make your house worth $4,000 or $5,000 more. The other thing that this goes along with is hardwood flooring as well. So just because you had an area of your house that maybe was a little bit outdated or something like that, and you decided to put in new flooring, if we're going to do it so that you're selling your house, sometimes there is the case where you're not going to get any of the money back that you invest in it, and sometimes there's the case where the flooring is so outdated or used that it does need to be done. But you have to go into this understanding that you're not getting your full investment back. So our goal at that point is to make the most economical investment that meets buyers' needs and requirements and expectations in order to net you the most money. So just because you put in real hardwood floors in a certain home versus like laminate or something like that, it doesn't mean the buyer is going to be willing to pay more. They're just going to look at it and go, oh, that's awesome, and then kind of move on with life. Now, if they're not there and your floors are in shambles, they will deduct that out of the price of your house versus other comparables. The next thing are upgrades in a modern kitchen and bathroom. So what the standard is right now in most price brackets is that you do have modern, updated kitchens and bathrooms. And what I mean by that is updated vanities, tiling, showers, and then as we move into the kitchen, modern appliances, updated cabinets, paint, flooring, countertops, things like that. So that's kind of the baseline. So yeah, if you don't have those things, buyers are absolutely going to deduct that from the cost of your home. Generally, just from working with buyers in this area, anything below $500,000, so like the $250,000 to $500,000 range, most buyers look at it and assume like about $8,000 for a bathroom to upgrade it completely if it's totally out of date. And they then assume like, between $20,000 and $40,000 for a kitchen, depending on the size of the home that we're talking about. Now, where you lose the ability to gain any money back is for those little special extra touches that you essentially did for yourself, more or less. And if you didn't do them for yourself and you did them to think of it as an investment, it's usually not going to happen. So things like going above and beyond on upgraded counters and going for like a specific grain of marble or granite, you're never going to see the return on value for that. I've seen people do, like go above and beyond with like smart fridges and Viking or Wolf appliances, upgraded lighting and, going all out and doing replumbing things and having like the water wand that comes out over the stove. Like those are all really cool, and it doesn't go without saying that buyers won't appreciate them, but sometimes the amount of money that you've put into it, you're just not going to get back. So hopefully you enjoyed it during your ownership, but unfortunately those are items that you'll just never receive that money back. So just because your neighbor's house doesn't have heated floors in their kitchen or bathroom or something like that, and it cost you a couple $1,000s, it doesn't mean that you can add that on. It's really just kind of become a feature at that point that's going to distinguish your home to a certain group that's looking for something like that. Number 3 is upgraded infrastructure. So this gets a little bit hairy because there are scenarios where we can't sell somebody what's essentially a broken home, right? So if you have railings falling off the wall, or your stairs to your basement are completely unsturdy, or there's support beams in the house that are broken or need to be redone or repaired, or there's legitimately like a leak in your roof, or the integrity of the structure of part of the home is diminished, those things need to be taken care of, absolutely, because nobody's going to buy the house. Well, not nobody, but nobody's going to pay market value for the house. And then it turns into a thing where investors are looking at it and you're getting lowball offers. Now, on the opposite end, the reason I bring this up is because particularly in 2 areas of decks and roofs from the exterior of the home, people will look at and in their head they'll say, well, it's getting towards the end of its lifespan, or the roof was supposed to last like 15 years, we're on year 14. Same thing with the deck, like, we put the deck on 10, 15 years ago, whatever it is, and it probably should be new. And that might be true, but you have to think about the cost that is associated with these things. A new deck can be tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the size of it, particularly if it's the full length of the house, also particularly with labor and material that's involved right now. And then the same thing goes with the roof. Depending on the size of your roof and the materials that are needed, specifically if you have different textures and grades of materials on the roof and require different surfaces, the cost of replacing a roof nowadays can be extremely expensive. So just because you put on, a $20,000 roof, or, usually it's a little bit less than that, but just because you make this huge investment on putting it on a new roof, it doesn't necessarily mean a buyer is now willing to pay for that. They're just happy that it's there. So most of the time right now in a seller's market, when we do find that there's multiple people going after a house, are there buyers out there that are be detracted from it and say, well, I'm not buying a house if I have to replace the roof in the next 2 to 3 years? Absolutely. On the other end, there are a lot of buyers that are out there that are just looking for a house right now, and they're like, the roof is fine right now, it's not falling down, great, and they're going to make a full price offer on your home. So do those things absolutely need to be there and in proper working order? Yes, but just because it's towards the end of its lifespan, and if you live there for another 10, 15 years, you would probably replace for yourself, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get that investment back. The next thing is HVAC repairs and installation. So this is another really gray area because if there's no HVAC system, particularly like a central air system, installed in any of the homes in the neighborhood, and your home has it, you will increase the market value of your house by having one installed. That being said, the amount of money that is invested into the fitting of these items, as well as the purchasing of the entire system and the labor that goes along with the installation of it, you'll never recoup all that money. You know, if you're one of 5 houses in the entire neighborhood that has an HVAC system, your home will absolutely sell for slightly more than the standard home that's selling in that area. But just because you installed one doesn't mean, you know, if it costs $20,000, $30,000 to put it in at the end of the day, you're not going to get all of that money back. So that's important to understand. So if you're about to sell the home and you didn't already install it for your own comfort and use, it's really not the greatest investment. And then the other thing too is people will sometimes look at components of their system and say, well, you know, this is getting old or that's getting old, and so maybe we should replace that before we sell the home. And we often, I often at least, suggest not doing that right away because a lot of these items cost, you know, a couple $1,000s. And from most buyers' perspectives, if they're not a professional and they don't really know what they're looking for, if it's there and it's in working condition, they're kind of happy with it. And it's sort of one of those buyer beware things where, you know, if they get a home inspection and they're okay with the current condition of it, then they're willing to accept, you know, the risk that maybe it won't, you know, work in the next year or two, or maybe it'll last another 10. You really don't always know depending on what the use has been. Now that being said, if one of those components isn't working, that's where we do have to make that investment, because that's kind of the standard, right? Like you can't have a hot water heater that's rusted out and leaking water, or central air and the unit just doesn't work at all. Because in that scenario, the buyer is going to deduct probably more than it's actually worth. But then on the opposite end, when we do make those repairs, we need to realize that we're doing that to get the house back up into working condition and at market value, as opposed to, you know, actually getting the full investment back. What I often suggest is that, you know, whether you're selling your home or not, that at least annually you get a HVAC specialist out to do a system update and certify your system as working. They'll, you know, mark the efficiency on it and things like that, change filters out, let you know how much lifespan is probably left in it. And if we can hand over a certified HVAC system as opposed to a brand new one, that generally costs far, far less, depending on the type of system that's involved. The next thing is any outdoor upgrades that are extreme, such as a pool, outdoor kitchens, or what I would call extreme hardscaping. Depending on the neighborhood that you live in, landscaping is a great way to increase the value of your home. Things like, you know, re-blacktopping your driveway, making sure everything's clean, that the grass is cut, that there's no overgrown trees or anything like that. Particularly if it's spring or summer, that we have some nice flowers out front. Those things go miles in terms of getting your house sold and looking great in pictures. That being said, I have seen scenarios where people have kind of gone to the extreme of creating this extravagant outdoor paradise for themselves in the backyard, whether it be, you know, kids' play areas or like ponds, outdoor kitchens, as I spoke about, gazebos, especially pools. These are things that, you know, again, we go back to hopefully you enjoyed them during the home ownership that you had. However, not only are you not going to receive the return on value from what you invested, sometimes, particularly with pools, it will actually detract buyers from you know, making an investment into the home, because they just see it as something that they now have to upkeep. So that's something I strongly suggest you think about during your home ownership before you put any of these things in. And then also, if you have, just know that you've done it for your own personal enjoyment and that you're not going to actually receive all the money back that you put into it. And then the last thing that I'd like to talk about is something that is a real gray area, and probably one of the most important reasons that somebody like myself come out and kind of do a walkthrough of your home, and let you know what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. But a lot of times, for some reason, people always say like, well, we have to update the windows. That is generally not always true. And the reason why is that windows, particularly depending on their size, can become extremely expensive. Right now, a standard window install is probably about $300 to $400 a window, depending on the size of the window. Now, once we get into some of these larger custom homes, replacing those windows, particularly with a modern double pane window or anything that's green technology, we're possibly in thousands of dollars. Now, if we got in and you had like a broken window somewhere, or all the windows in your house are, the old single pane ones and they're completely outdated and everybody else in your neighborhood has already updated their windows. That's a scenario where, to get the house to market value, we really need to look at making that upgrade, because at times, it's going to deter buyers from coming in and making an offer on your home, but also there are times where buyers will kind of overestimate how much work needs to be done on replacing something like that. On the opposite end, just going and replacing every window in the home, while it would have been great if you were planning on living there and it would make your house more heat efficient and energy efficient, you're not going to actually probably see the return on value of replacing all those windows. Now, if we get in and, one of them has like busted seals, or, one doesn't go up all the way, or particularly if a window pane is broken, or something's happened along the way that's caused damage, there are times where we might pick out one or two that we say, hey, you know what, let's just take care of that one so it's not an eyesore, it's not a reason for people to kind of dig and look for more problems, essentially. But just going ahead and replacing all the windows isn't going to actually return the value of the investment that you made on those windows. Now, at a later date, we are going to talk about upgrades to your house that will bring all the money back that you've invested into it, and then tenfold. But often, probably without getting into that, the best thing that you can ever do for your home to get ready is just paint and cleanliness. Paint and cleanliness at times will return 1,000% more than anything else that we talked about today. So if you are thinking about selling your home in the near future and you're wondering what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done, please feel free to give me a call. I'd love to get out and give you my expert opinion. You can call or text me at any time. My number is 610-442-9371, or you can email me at the address below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.